Good evening, everybody. Before we begin tonight's meeting, I'm just going to check that Councillor Stevens, who is joining us online, can see and hear.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I can see you and hear you.
Fantastic, thank you. Members of the public gallery should note that Council records and publishes Council meetings via YouTube to enhance the accessibility of Council meetings to the broader Wellington community. These recordings are also published and archived on Council's website for viewing by the public. Recordings may be used for publicity or information purposes. Members of the public in attendance at the Council meeting who wish to communicate with the Council regarding an agenda item or any other matter should advise the Mayor, ideally prior to the meeting starting, to ensure that their submission is called at the appropriate time during the meeting. Would gallery visitors, councillors and invited online attendees please ensure that mobile phones and other electronic devices are turned off or in silent mode for the duration of the meeting. Wellington Shire Council acknowledges that our offices are located on the traditional lands of the Gunai-Kurnai Nation. We pay our deep respects to their elders past, present and future and acknowledge their ongoing cultural and spiritual connections to their land and waters. We have no apologies for the meeting this evening. Do we have any declaration of conflicts of interest tonight? Nope. We'll move on to item 3.1, which is the adoption of the minutes of the previous council meeting. Do I have someone to move that? Thank you, Councillor Wells.
I move that Council adopt the minutes and resolutions of the ordinary council meeting of 18th of November 2025.
Seconded by Councillor Rossetti. Is that motion opposed? That motion not being opposed, that motion is carried. Councillor Wells, would you like to speak to that item?
No, thanks.
Fantastic. All right, we will move on to item 4. Do we have any business arising from previous meetings?
None, Mayor.
Thank you. Do we have any late or urgent items?
None, Mayor.
Thank you. I'll move on to item 6.1, which is notice of motion. This notice of motion is around the closure of the AKD timber mill in Yarram, and I will ask Councillor Stevens to read his notice of motion, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would like to move that Council write to the State Government following the sudden and unexpected closure of the AKD timber mill in Yarram and seek urgent consideration of two matters. One, the urgent extension of the Victorian Forestry Worker Support Program to the workers at AKD Yarram who have lost their jobs, and two, extension of funding for the Future of Yarram project for a further 12 months ending 30th of June 2027 to enable the project to assist the Yarram and district community and workers who have lost their jobs following the closure of the AKD Yarram timber mill. I'll so move. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. Seconded, Councillor Fote. Is that motion opposed? That motion not being opposed, that motion is carried. Would you like to speak to that, Councillor Stevens?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, councillors, for your support. So, in relation to this matter, number one, the Forestry Workers Support Scheme was set up by the state government to support the workers who lost their jobs due to the closure of the state forests, and basically was focused on workers in the hardwood timber industry. It seems completely appropriate at this stage for this fund to be extended to workers at AKD who, of course, are working in the softwood industry, and also maybe any other support workers. So I think that, but of course it won't happen just by normal action. So for council to actually write and seek this to occur will of course be of great benefit to those workers who have lost their jobs. And secondly, the Future of Yarram project was likewise set up to support the communities where the hardwood industry had been closed down, and it seems entirely appropriate again for an extension of the Future of Yarram project because our community is going to be even more hard hit by the closure of the softwood industry in Yarram than it possibly was by hardwood. So I thank the councillors for their support, and I welcome the fact that we can, as a council, take action on both these matters. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens, and thank you for all the work you've been doing in this space over the last couple of weeks. I know, being a councillor that lives in Yarram, often a lot of these Yarram projects tend to fall to you, so thank you so much for all the work you've put in.
Thanks, Mayor.
I will now move on to item 7. Do we have any petitions or joint letters?
No, none, Mayor.
Fantastic. Okay, we'll move on to item 8, which is invited addresses, presentations or acknowledgements. Councillor Bannerman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to put a big shout out to an outstanding young man in our community by the name of Angus Moncur, who at 16 years old came up with the idea to host an event for the benefit of the Aussie Hay Runners, a local charity who basically organise hay and other supplies out to farmers in most dire and desperate need of feed for their animals. So Angus put together the Victoria's four-wheel drive show and shine on the 22nd of November, just outside Rosedale. Hugely successful day, so he can be very, very proud of himself, both for that and for the intended purpose, which is the raising money for, as I said, the Aussie Hay Runners. So over $12,000 were raised on the day. So also thank you to everyone who went along and supported that and put their hands in their pockets, as well as all the countless hours of volunteer work that went into making that day happen. Fabulous event, and he's already looking for bigger and better things for it for next year.
Fantastic. Angus sounds like a very, very impressive young man, and thank you for attending that event. Do I have any other invited addresses? Thank you, Councillor Tutterson. He's very excited. Here we go.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a couple of very important events on the Tuesday, the 25th of November. So last week, 6 of our councillors went to Dargo and visited a number of facilities around Dargo. So initially we went to the Bush Nursing Centre and were shown around the Bush Nursing Centre, and the executives there certainly informed us of the importance to that community of the Bush Nursing Centre and the great work that they do for not only their locals but also the tourists that visit Dargo. We were shown through the Dargo Museum and then went to the Dargo Hall, and it's certainly the hub of the community and was very busy on the day, and we were able to thank volunteers from within the community. And during the day it was quite obvious the importance of volunteering when you get to towns like Dargo, that they are the lifeblood of that community, and they certainly keep it going and allow that community to thrive and to stay busy. And they certainly seem to do a terrific job up there, and they were great on that day. So thank you to all the councillors that attended. I'm sure they're pleased with us. And also on another matter, on the 20th of November, Lee and Gatha hosted the SEATS meeting, the SEATS Victorian component meeting. SEATS is the South Eastern Australian Transport Strategy Group, which I'm currently the deputy chair of that, and we went to Lee and Gatha to discuss transport issues across the whole of the network. A couple of key things that were coming up, particularly across the Gippsland ones, was the major projects, which the Traralgon bypass was one that SEATS has been strongly advocating, along with a number of other key agencies. So that's something SEATS are really keen to get on the agenda or keep on the agenda, and it's been held up with the mine for the Loy Yang mine at the moment, but SEATS are very keen for the government to start working on planning for how that, if that bypass goes on its current preferred route or whether it needs to change, but to make sure it happens, because from a transport point of view, it does take a long time to get product from Gippsland, from East Gippsland and Wellington through to the markets in Melbourne. So that was really good. The Sale alternate truck route, the Warragul Drew and transport planning, and we had presentations from the Port of Hastings, and they outlined with the advent of the alternate energies, the solar and wind, particularly offshore wind, the importance of both the Port of Hastings and Barry's Beach, which is fairly close to our shore. So that was good. We also had an opportunity to have a look around some of the revitalisation projects in Leongatha, and they've done a terrific job linking the rail trail to the former railway land in the middle of town, and they've done a great job in revitalising that area of their town. So very productive day meeting, and well attended by councillors across Gippsland, councillors and councillor staff. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Councillor Tatterson. That's so important, the work that SEATS does, and thank you for being so thorough in your reporting back to us. And I'd just like to reiterate the Dargo visit on Tuesday. I think it's so important that councillors get out in the community, speak to residents, especially from towns like Dargo, to hear. I loved hearing what residents really liked about their town and what they thought the strengths were for Dargo, and they said it was the resilience of the town. So that's really valuable information that we can only get on days like that. So thank you very much. Do I have any other invited addresses? Thank you, Councillor Ripper.
Thank you, Mayor. Unfortunately, mine's on a sadder note, that I would like to acknowledge the significant impact that the closure of the farming business Dicky Bill's vegetable farm in Maffra has had on workers. Found this out over the weekend. Their families and the broader community. The decision represents not only the loss of local jobs, but also the disruption of livelihoods and broader impacts to our region coming up to Christmas. We recognise the uncertainty this closure creates for employees and associated business. Council remains committed to supporting affected workers and engaging with relevant state and federal government agencies to explore helping for retaining employment assistance and support for those affected within our community. There is an event coming up for the affected locals who worked there and the community, run by the federal agency Workforce Australia and the Regional Development Victoria and Wellington Shire Council support. And it will be at the Maffra Memorial Hall on the 10th of December from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So I'd like to think that we'll keep all those workers and a lot of people within the area. I know trucks don't go up past my place anymore, and there's so many people I know that work there. So if we just keep them in our thoughts, and we are looking forward to an outcome that some of those workers, I believe we've got workers who live in the area and we've got workers on visas, that they may be able to be find jobs in other areas. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ripper. I think it's so important, especially after the recent closure of the AKD mill in Yarram and now Dicky Bill's, that we do whatever we can for those people impacted, and we know that it will have potentially a flow-on effect to the wider community. So definitely keeping everybody in our thoughts at the moment. I will just check that there are no other invited addresses. Thank you, Councillor Stevens.
Mayor,
Yes.
if I can.
Off you go, Councillor Stevens. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mayor. The first matter I'd like to report on, the 16 days of activism against domestic violence. The Yarram Community, a neighbourhood house rather, held an event last Tuesday. It started off with a a walk at, I think, 4 a.m. in the morning. I wasn't there at 4 a.m., I must admit, for the start of the walk. I did arrive a little bit later. They were offering breakfast, so that got me out of bed. They very generously credited me with 1 lap. 1 lap was from the neighbourhood house to the Yarram District Health Service and return. I didn't quite make a lap, but I had a proxy who, young William Cook, finished my lap for me, so they gave me a credit of a lap. They had over 100 participants, apparently did over 500 kilometres during the walk, and that was a fantastic rollout, and well done to the neighbourhood house. They finished it off with a barbecue at 6:30 in the Memorial Gardens, which was supported by the Health Service, and of course you were there, Mayor, and made a really great speech. So well done, and thank you for your attendance. I think there were about 40 people turned out for the barbecue, so that was another good event, and they then completed a final lap to mark the day. So it was a great day for recognising and supporting action against domestic violence, and well done to the neighbourhood house, Cathy Cook and her crew at the neighbourhood house for their efforts. And so that was the first thing. The second thing I'd like to report on, Mayor, was the special expo held at Yarram yesterday, which the Shire, of course, supported, and it was another great event. It was organised pretty quickly, but my advice from the Shire staff is that over 50 workers actually took part, and given the fact that we estimate there's about 56 or around 56 local workers, I thought that was a fantastic turnout by the workers to support the event. My understanding is all the stallholders, there are a number of job providers there. It was also great to see Services Australia take part in strength, and so I think there was probably well over a dozen stallholders, and it was really a good event, and I think it was great that the Shire was able to support it, and we had Ashley Smurl and Rachel Weatherly from our Economic Development Unit there, and also I'd just like to acknowledge Sarah Rhodes-Ward and her staff from RDV, and particularly Darren Beggs from Workforce Australia, who put the whole event together. So that was a really good event, and I think there was great value, and it was good to see that we were showing support for our workers who had lost their jobs, so that was fantastic. And I'm now going to sneak in a third one with your benevolent support, Mayor, and it's so it's happy 31 to us today, 31st birthday of the Wellington Shire, and I can say, due to my advanced age, that I was in attendance at the very first meeting when the commissioners were sworn in on the 2nd of December 1994, and the council chamber was in the other corner of the building for a bit of air. There's some bit of historic information for you back in that day, and yeah, so 31 years today, we are starting to get a bit more mature, aren't we? So I hope you've got the cake in the back room for after the meeting, Mayor. Thank you.
I didn't see any cake, Councillor Stevens, but I'll see what I can rustle up. Definitely some bickies.
Vicky will do, yeah, fine. Well done.
Thank you so much for those. And just carrying on from what you said about the 16 days of activism, I'd just like to remind everyone that there is a walk against violence happening next Wednesday, the 10th of December, in Sale, and that's starting from 4 p.m. at the Clock Tower. So I think it's just worth noticing everybody is invited. We will walk from the Clock Tower, following some speeches, walk from the Clock Tower to the Port of Sale, where we will have a community barbecue, and there'll be support services there if needed. So everyone is welcome to attend that event. Fantastic. I don't think we have any more addresses, acknowledgements. We will move on to item 9. Do we have any questions on notice? Thank you. Item 10, do we have any delegates' reports? Thank you, Councillor Bannerman.
Thank you, Mayor. So I sit on the Rural Councils of Victoria Committee, which meets throughout the year to, member councils have representation on it, and essentially they exist to provide a route for strong advocacy at other levels of government, so particularly the state and federal governments. The recent meeting focused heavily on the 2026 upcoming election and trying to compile a comprehensive but coherent and succinct list of what it is that the rural councils are seeking from the state government candidates coming into the 2026 election, and positioning ourselves as being a significant factor within the state economics and demographics, and in need of a specific voice outside of the general other councils, because there is something very special and different about these specifically rural councils, that we have a lot to bring to the table, but we also need specific levels of support through policy and legislation to be able to do that.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Councillor Bannerman. Are there any other delegates' reports? No. I will move on to item 11.1, the Assembly of Councillors' reports. Thank you, Councillor Wells.
I move the council note and receive the attached Assembly of Councillor records for the period 10th of November to 23rd of November 2025.
Seconded by Councillor Bannerman. Is that motion opposed? That motion not being opposed, that motion is carried. Councillor Wells, did you wish to speak to that?
Yeah. Section 80 of the Local Government Act 1989 required a written record be kept of all assemblies of councillors, stating the names of all councillors and council staff attending, matters considered and any conflict of interest disclosures made by a councillor. These records were required to be reported at an ordinary meeting of the council and recorded in the minutes. Under the new Local Government Act 2020, this requirement is no longer provided for. However, in accordance with good governance, council will continue to provide records of assemblies of councillors to ensure that the community are kept informed of councillors' activity and participation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wells. I think good governance and transparency are always welcome here. I will move on to item 11.2, the adoption of the 2026 council meeting dates. Thank you, Councillor Bannerman.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council adopt the 2026 Council meeting dates and times as attached, and to publish the 2026 Council meeting dates, times and place on Council's website.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Rossetti. Is that motion opposed? That motion not being opposed, that motion is carried. Councillor Bannerman, do you wish to speak to that item?
Thank you, Mayor. So the setting of the dates is an important part of clear communication with the general public. So our own governance rules require us to set these dates at one of the last meetings of the year. So it's a very appropriate time to be doing this. We do hold our meetings on a scheduled regular basis, so we will be continuing at this stage with the first and third Tuesdays of the month, noting in a nutshell that the exception to that is the first week in November, when we have to shift it to the Wednesday to avoid Melbourne Cup Day, because no one's going to be listening to us on Melbourne Cup Day. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much. I will move on to item 12.1, which the Place Names Committee meeting November minutes. Thank you very much, Councillor Fote.
I move that Council 1 receive and note the minutes of the Place Names Committee meeting held on the 11th of November 2025. 2, establish a confidential internal register of Indigenous names for possible future place naming, and the rest of 2 and item 3 as written in the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Taddison. Is that motion opposed? That motion not being opposed, that motion is carried. Councillor Fote.
Just a couple of the key outcomes that were brought up in the minutes from that particular committee meeting. Number 1 is, as it was written in there, that the Indigenous Place Names Register The committee recommended creating a register of Indigenous names for future place naming. The intention of that was that when a name is needed for a specific purpose, the name can be selected from the register and submitted to GLAWAC for consultation and approval. The hope with this is that it will expected to support a more timely response for place naming requests, meaning that GLAWAC will have a very specific purpose with their names and will be more inclined to give tick of approval. The second one I wanted to bring up was the community submissions for the naming of the Port of Sale. There was a wide range of community submissions for naming the western side of the Port of Sale put through on the website. These ranged from thoughtful and historical to significant names to humorous and quite creative. Some of them included the Anchorage, Mariners Green and Pelican Place, and then it gave people the chance to go on there and actually give it a tick if they liked certain ones and things like that. Now, each of the names are reviewed for its historical and cultural relevance. There were some names that came up with some really great historical side of things, but it was a completely different area, so didn't quite have the relevance there. At this stage, further consideration for the naming is planned to take place with the new committee coming through. The urgency of this decision has actually lessened as the Sale Music Festival now will be returning to its original site of the Botanical Gardens. The last item from there that I wish to bring up is the gender equality in place naming. Now, the committee discussed the Victorian Government's gender equality strategy, which encourages the nomination of women and underrepresented groups for place naming. It was recommended that the council officers continue to promote the Remember a Local, Name a Place campaign on the Wellington Shire Council's social media, possibly every 2 months. The campaign did originally have a finish date of November. However, they've decided to leave it ongoing at this stage, and it'll stay ongoing until the Victorian Government deem this as an item closed. So all in all, it was a productive meeting with lots of positive outcomes, but we really encourage everyone to get on board to submit suggestions for the naming local places across our shire, names that could be used in future times, or maybe even other options for naming of the Port of Sale, the western side of the Port of Sale. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. There was a lot of conjecture if it was the western side or the southern side, and we need to get out there with our compass and figure it out. It's also worth noting, if you are considering submitting a name for to name a place, that it cannot be the name of anybody living. So that's a recent update to the rules. So just worth keeping that in mind. We'll now move on to item 12.2, which is the quick response grants. Thank you, Councillor Bannerman.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council note the information regarding applications received under the Quick Response Grants Scheme for the period of July 2025 to October 2025, as detailed in attachment 12.2.1, Quick Response Grant Scheme applications, July 2025 to October 2025.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Lowe. Is that motion opposed? That motion not being opposed, that motion is carried. Thank you, Councillor Bannerman.
So just briefly, the background really is that this is a fund that we keep available for community and not-for-profit groups to be able to run a whole range of different events, and also for their things that come up that they might need in order to be able to function on a day-to-day basis. And it's a fantastic opportunity for these bodies that provide so much backbone and life to our local communities to be able to get something back from everything that they're putting in to make our community, our shire, the really great place it is to live.
Fantastic, thank you. And now that motion has been moved, I can announce the successful grant applications. It's a bit of a list, so bear with me, which is great. It's great that it's a long list. So the recipients are Sales Lakeside Community Garden Incorporated, SEED, Dargo TV Management Group Incorporated, QLIT, Wellington BBBQ Incorporated, Mafra and Districts Land Care Network, Sale City Band, Yarram Agricultural Society, Rosedale and District Adult Horse Riding Club, the Yarram Regent Theatre Committee of Management, the Mafra Neighbourhood House, Sale Football Netball Club, Stratford Netball Club, Rosedale Community Care, Airlie Clydebank Public Hall, the Golden Paradise Beach Ratepayers and Residents Association. They do have an acronym, but cannot pronounce it as an acronym. The Gippsland Forest Dialogue, Golden Paradise Beach Community Centre Committee of Management, the Woodside Community Hall, the Marley Street Community Hub, Mirrodong Services, Munro Hall Committee of Management, the Gwenfahampton Kindergarten, Gippy Rocks Incorporated, Stratford and District Historical Society, Golden Paradise Beach Community Development Fund, the Merloo Public Hall, the Hayfield and District Historical Society Incorporated. There are also a number of individual sponsorship and team community group sponsorships, and they are as follows: the Locksport Senior Citizens Club, Lucas Driscoll, Macy Preston, Xanthi Wade, and Kobe Hiskins. Hopefully I've said everything correctly. That was a long list, but just goes to show. Are there more? I don't have any more on my list. That's it. Nope. That's fine. Oh, I don't think I'll read out the unsuccessful ones. No, it's probably best not to. But thank you for all those groups that submitted applications. I think it's fantastic that it is such a long list, and it's great to see that we are supporting so many different groups within the community. So, thank you. I'll move on to item 13. Do we have any further gallery and online comments?
We just have one, Mayor, from Mr. Alan Haywood from Pearsondale. It's really just seeking follow-up to the question he asked 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
And just to remind councillors, that was about whether we would be applying for grants for the realignment of the Settlement Road at the intersection with Tyler's Road in Warwick. And I do apologise to Mr. Haywood, but that response has since gone, so we've sort of crossed over. So he now has a copy of that response, Mayor, and I'll copy that to all councillors.
Fantastic, thank you. We have no need to go into closed session, so I will declare that the meeting closed at 5:32, and the live streaming of this council meeting will now come to a close. Thank you.